Will Roach, so nice to have you here. We're going to do a very brief piece for our listeners and possibly for your listeners as well. Creating a little video just about the process that we went through to create your audiobook. Now, I talk a lot as an audio producer and the people behind the scenes and how the production goes. But since you're one of those rare creatures who is a narrator and author, I just wanted to ask you a few questions or get you to just describe what the process was like for you.
Sure.
Because writing a book is a big enough thing, as you know.
Yeah.
And then to actually go through the process of listening and narrating your own book. Now, I saw Patrick Stewart interview the other day on television, and he's just done a memoir and has self-narrated. And he said he will never, ever narrate a book. He said it took him 41 sessions. 41.
41?
Yeah, like for you, it took what, 4?
4 sessions. Yeah, 14 hours, something like that, over 4 sessions.
Over 4 sessions.
Simultaneously.
And this is one of the most accomplished actors in the world.
Yeah.
And it took him 41 sessions. And plus he said he was crying all the way through it, so.
That was, yeah. I mean, I wasn't crying. No. I wasn't crying. I think this, as a storyteller, it's hard to wrap your head around how a different medium can bring that story to life. So it actually took me a few years to figure out whether this particular book, my book, would be suitable. Let alone...
Suitable, you mean for audiobook?
For audio.
Because what a lot of people don't know is that you're also a performer. And you're a poetry performer.
Yes.
So you're used to being in front of an audience and to orating words that you create. So this one, you had doubts about whether it should be on that platform?
I had doubts about the whole concept and about whether it was adaptable and suitable for this book.
And how did you decide? How did you make that decision then? Because once you came to us, you were certain. There was like no obstacle. It was like, yeah, I'm going go to woe. Yeah.
Well, it'll always be my book. It'll always be my story, and I would want my story to be in good hands. And we had a pre-existing, Maria and myself had a pre-existing relationship in a totally different sphere, totally unrelated to audiobooks, well before that concept, she brought that concept to life. So there was a trust, and there was a mutual respect in terms of our writerly roles.
Yeah.
So if you like, we had which I guess in a lot of situations it would be quite unique. We had that bedrock already in place. We had that foundation already in place. So it wasn't too much of a leap in my imagination. And I'm a writer, so I work very much from my imagination, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, poetry, or whatever it might be. It wasn't too much of a leap, if you like, from my heart to the practicalities in terms of the nuts and bolts of actually doing this. And Maria put me through my paces on a number.
It was Kristen, not me. I kept an arm's distance. I wanted to preserve our relationship.
But I know how much love and care goes into the process. I know how much love and care goes into the designing of the process and to bringing those books to, a listenership that might not be familiar or comfortable with the subject or knowledgeable or whatever with and so it was a very distinct process of acceptance. Acceptance that this book would make the transition, would find a new audience, which is exciting for a writer, or was certainly exciting for me, and that the only person that could narrate that book was me.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I was most certain about. Notwithstanding what you've just mentioned in terms of tears and I didn't, in the process, I didn't have that experience. No, I was very, maybe it's the way I am. I was very focused, and I think it was a smart choice to have 4 consecutive sessions across 4 days.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like going to the office, the studio, sitting down. It is arduous. It is demanding.
Yeah.
You have to stay focused 120% of the time. And you have to be in sync with the sound engineers who are fabulous. But you still got to get the job done.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot riding on that as a narrator. It's like finding a new hat and trying it on and not getting to a stage where, you know, you've got a certain number of hours, you've got to work with those hours. So you've really got to, if you like, refine that writerly ear.
Right. In order to be able to sort of evoke the full expression of it in sound.
Yes.
When you were writing it, could you hear it? Or this was the first time that you kind of like, because
Yes, I could.
Yeah.
Yes, I could. I mean, it's the first 20 years from birth, first memory around about 3 years old, through to age 19, 20. Crucial time. And it felt to me, it's always felt to me that I've held all these stories and birthed them. And because the memories were so powerful.
Yeah. Can I ask this? That when you were going to go into the studio, like you've done a lot of podcasts, you've done radio work, you know, you're an amazing interviewee. I've interviewed you on radio. So how different was this to that?
It was and it wasn't. It was in terms of, you know, being in a studio setting, preparation, lights, etc., etc. Familiar with what you're working with. But it was a unique experience that you can't really sum up in words.
It's almost like being cooked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're there,
Yeah.
you know that you've got your sessions, you know you want to get through a certain slice of the book and to carry the energy of that book, both as a performer, but respecting the writer. Did you see yourself in like that bifurcated role? Like, the writer, the narrator, the writer, the narrator.
Yeah, it was like observing myself narrating.
I can understand that.
It's like sitting there, there was 2 Wilfreds sitting there, and one was looking at the other in absolute amazement.
Yeah.
And the narrator Wilfred, and the narrator Wilfred was like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm actually doing this, and I'm actually getting it right. And I'm actually getting to the point where at certain parts, I'm saying to the sound engineer, actually, we need to redo that.
Yeah.
And the sound engineer's like, wow, And you know, and there's that mutual admiration between us because he is, if you like, hearing the book, but he's hearing the book from a sound engineer.
From a sound point of view. Yeah, so he's respecting, right, okay, if Will says we have to do that bit again, we just have to do it. Now I think we'll round off there. We might do another little snatch of an interview, but your book is now up on every platform around the world. I'm so proud of that production for you and for us as well.
I'm glad I made that decision.
Yeah, wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.